be a one-hitter quitter. You were like, no, okay, what? Really? You crossed me once? I'm good. Wait, I even know your phrase. The girls can even say your same phrase. You'd be like, I'm cool on you. I'm so cool on you.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point, you realized you were married into crazy.
And that's what our podcast is all about. We offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as we unpack this crazy thing called marriage.
So sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
All right, let's go.
Welcome to episode 58 of Married into Crazy with Snooks and Lovey. This is Lovey.
This is Snooks.
And man, you would think it was the 4th of July up in here because there was fireworks. Fireworks! Because she was just going off. Yes, you were. I mean, she was just going in on me. I mean,
I wasn't going in.
I almost called the police for spousal abuse.
Really?
Verbal spousal abuse.
Wow. So now everybody thinks I'm mean.
She's mean. Yeah.
Really? Now you're going to fake cry?
I can't even do that. Not with a straight face.
No.
No, but it was one of those things where we were just trying to talk about some of the topics. We have a variety of things that have been coming in from a lot of you, and we are so appreciative of the questions you're sending in, some of the recommendations.
And it
topics.
always seems like Lovey always gets to pick the question.
Well, you get to pick the question this time.
I know. That's what we were having a discussion about.
So, okay, so just so you know, when we come back, at the end of every one of our episodes, we do a two for the road where we use the I Can. And so mine last week was you have to learn something new about your partner.
And you didn't learn anything new about me.
You know what I learned? Is that she is passive aggressive. That is what I learned that was new about her. She is so passive aggressive. Even our daughter, even Ashanti.
Oh my God.
What were we doing?
Are you talking
we were
about?
texting.
Sending a text message.
We were texting back and forth. It was like we have like a family text where everybody's on and we kind of text through. And we have one that includes our son. Then we have one that's just people that are in the household right now. And it was funny. Snooks was asking all these different questions, and then Ashanti just shut down. And it was weird. You could actually feel her shut down on text. And so she's like, well, what's her problem? And I was like, well, you're asking all these questions. And she was, oh, yeah.
Go finish.
No, I'm just saying. And even Ashanti said, because you're being all passive aggressive.
No, she said that because, okay, so I was asking questions like I always do. Don't give me part information. I think we've already discussed this. So I'm asking these questions through text message. And so Lovey says, why are you asking her all these questions and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm at fault. I'm like, why are you getting all, well, she's, and I'm like, okay, whatever. So I send her text message. I was like, look, sorry for asking all these questions. She's like, I wasn't even mad, but I get mad when you acted all passive aggressive. And I was like, who's being passive aggressive? I'm just trying to apologize because your dad was making it sound like you was mad about whatever. I wasn't even mad, Mom. So that's what she's talking about. Because she didn't want me, because I sent the text message saying I was sorry. So next time I'll just stay beast mode and I won't apologize.
Y'all feel the heat coming from her, huh? Y'all can feel it. I don't care. We in California, but somebody in New York felt that heat just right now.
Whatever.
Felt that. Ooh-wee. So anyway, that's what I learned that was new, is that my wife is aggressive, extremely aggressive.
I am not aggressive. I am not aggressive.
She's passive aggressive.
I'm not passive aggressive. I'm like, first of all, you didn't even use it in the right context.
Anyway, I just want to say thank you to everyone for sending everything in. And let me go ahead and kind of hone in on something real quick. And that is, we've asked you to leave reviews and put things out there. And then God bless all of you, because people were writing in or emailing us and saying that we can't leave a review on anything other than Apple Podcasts.
Oh, yeah, I got a few.
So I was like, okay, let me check this out.
I was talking to you.
I'm just cutting you off. I'm trying to be aggressive. I'm going to match your passive aggressive with my aggressive. But so I went on. I was like, wait a minute. Let me just double check this. So I went on I mean, every venue I could think of, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play Music. I mean, all the ones that we're on, and we're on quite a few, but I went on everything I could, and I could not find anything that you could leave a review on other than Apple Podcasts. So,
yeah. Someone at my job, she was like, I'm trying to leave you all a review. So how do I do it? And I was like, oh, I think you just go to, so we get on my computer, and I was like, oh, that just contacts us. So I said, well, maybe we'll try to, I had to email Lovey. I'm like, how do they leave a review? So yeah, sorry people.
So specifically, and it is the great majority of our viewership or listenership is coming through the Apple medium, but we wanted to thank everybody from everyone. So if you're listening via TuneIn or from Stitcher or a variety of others, we thank you so much. But if you are listening to us via Apple, please go leave a review. Leave a review, give us a rating, again, because we want to increase the discoverability so other people can actually join the conversation as well. Because we're learning that the more robust the audience, the more people, the variety of questions. It's really interesting to see the different demographics and people that are chiming in. And so even though we're talking about marriage is one of those things that crosses socioeconomics, it crosses religion, it crosses culture barriers. It's one of those things that we all have in common. And it's something that we're very passionate about in helping couples. And in saying that, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we would love for each and every one of you to go to our website, marriedintocrazy.com, and share some of your thoughts on how the website looks, as well as the coaching packages. There's a variety of things that are there. And look, I'm not going to sit here and devalue it and say, oh, you can get this for on the cheap or what have you because we're having a sale or what have you. But the bottom line is, we were all about touching the lives in a positive manner for over 1 million couples. And that's our goal. That's all we really truly are concerned with. And we hope that you look at the packages that we have available from a marriage coaching standpoint, and you've found some commonality with us, and you're able to connect. Do the 15-minute free call. We're very serious about that. If you're trying to figure out whether or not this is the right path for you, give us a call. Let's have a chat for 15 minutes. We can chop it up for a little bit, decide if it's worth or worthy of, each of us kind of taking that next step. Because not only are you kind of talking with us to figure out if we're the right ones, but we also want to talk with you to find out if we think it's a good match as well for us to have that conversation. But let's definitely do that. Do the free consultation, and then let's decide if we can move on from there. We'd love to actually work with you in ensuring that you have a longevity to your relationship as well. So
Okay.
with that said,
we're going to move on. I want to give an update. We haven't talked about Isaiah in a while. So yesterday we had the opportunity to go see our grandson, who is now 7 pounds and 9 ounces. So those of you who...
So this is one of those times where I need special effects.
Okay, you just said yay. That's a special effect.
I'm gonna find it. I know I can do it in here somewhere.
So those of you who have heard the podcast, when we first started talking about Isaiah, when he was born, he was 2 pounds and 8 ounces, and it was a pretty spotty, touch and go. And first of all, thank you all for your prayers. God is in the healing business, and I do believe that the prayers have contributed a lot to his improvement. So they are he's still in the NICU, but he's not in the incubator anymore. So they said maybe in the next couple of weeks he'll be able to come home, but I was able to hold him for the first time yesterday. Yes, and I spoke to my grandson and I said something to him and he smiled, and I was like, yeah.
That was cute.
Yeah, it was really cute. So anyway, just an update about Isaiah. He's, like I said, he's a little chunky. Well, chunky compared to 2 pounds. He's 5 pounds difference now.
Right?
So,
7 pounds, what? 7 pounds, 9 ounces?
7 pounds, 9 ounces.
Big boy.
Yeah.
So, no, that was really good.
Yeah.
So, with that said, so on this particular podcast, what we'd like to do is dive into the mailbag and really kind of address some of the questions that you asked.
I want a thing that makes it sound like mail. You got mail.
Oh, but we don't need sound effects, do we?
I said I do. Not you. Want to do some jingle, jangle, whatever.
Jingle, jangle,
Jingle, jangle, jingle. What is it called?
Jangling, jangling.
No. I'm
Anyway.
talking about from Prep and Landy.
Jingle, jingle, bam.
Okay, anyway. So we do have we had a question come in, and this says, how did you get over the hump or hurdle of your relationship? So we're gonna.
What does that mean?
I'm gonna assume that they're talking about, because a lot of times we've referenced how we were getting ready to separate or break up, divorce. I wanted a divorce.
Okay.
You like to throw
So
that
adversity.
in my face every single time we talk. You like to say, "Yeah, my wife was trying to get divorced."
You
from
did.
Me. I'm just saying. So I'm figuring that that's
you can't
what
refute
they're.
the facts. I was on my
That's
cream
what-
spinach, and you was like, I don't
Okay.
like you no more.
And the podcast is over.
Anyway, so
how
read
do
the question again?
How did you get over the hump / hurdle in your relationship?
So if we're talking about the adversity piece, as far again, and there were quite a few different hurdles, and we all go through
So
it.
let's pick one and let's talk about that.
Pick one.
No, you go ahead.
Oh no, she puts it on me. Okay, so the thing
You
that
were
I
talking. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, so the thing that I would talk about is we can lump them all into just I guess the overarching theme of adversity. We have smaller adversities, we have bigger adversities, but I think that the challenge is you can do one of two things. It's so we have this system in our body. It's called the parasympathetic response.
Oh Lord,
And
he's about to geek out. Go
I'm
ahead.
about to geek out. No, I'll keep it top line. So
Okay.
the parasympathetic response in the body it's what we call flight or fight, right? So it's one of those things where a bear just pops out. All of a sudden, it's like, what do? Do you freeze or do you run? And it's flight or fight. And so I think that we have that same parasympathetic response when it comes to our relationships to a certain extent. You have to decide when you're facing adversity or a challenge or tribulation, something along those lines, you have to decide, do I stand and fight or do I run away? And I believe that if you okay, again, there's degrees to this, just like anything else, right? How do we say, there's levels to this? Well, there's degrees of variation. And I just want to put this out there first and foremost, if we're talking about bodily harm, if we're talking about any type of physical, spiritual, emotional abuse, then it's definitely flight. It's time to go. You don't stick around to have somebody try and, they'll work it out, they'll figure it out.
Okay, but how did we specifically? I'm assuming that that's what the question is, not just a generalization of how you get over it or
I'm
whatever.
getting to that. We decided to fight.
Okay, but initially we did not.
Well, you didn't.
Initially we
You
decided.
ran. Yours was flight. Mine was fight.
I was flight. So for me, I had felt like I had enough, and I was ready to. I didn't feel like anything was going to change, so I was like, I'm done about this point right now. I don't want to do this anymore. I was tired of being what I felt was. I won't say what I felt. I felt unhappy. Sorry.
Sorry.
But when I didn't feel like he was putting me first, and I felt like I was doing a lot of compromising, and things were asked of me that I felt should not have been asked of me. So in the sense of like
What?
just
Get
hold,
specifics. You're being very generic.
okay, well, like I'm supposed to hold my tongue and not say anything when, your mom says this or whatever, or I'm supposed to be overly understanding when I'm the wife. So it should be us, not someone else's opinion that comes into our home. And then you go by what they say or what they think because they helped you out in the past or something like that. So I felt like I was like, well, shoot, I'm just a warm body here. So it wasn't like it was our marriage. It was what someone else had to say. And then you were like, oh, okay, well, maybe that's a good idea. That's how I felt. So I didn't feel like it was going to get any better. So I decided I took the flight. I took the flight, But the Lord was like, yeah, no.
The God.
The God. The Lord was like, no, that's, it was not meant for us to grow apart.
As my friend Danielle would say, silly human.
Yeah. Aw. Sometimes, you know what? It's so funny because we're talking about the Lord. So there are times when, I know, I'm sorry, I'm about to go on a rant. There are times when I sit back, I'll do something, I'm like, oh my goodness. And I'll look up and I'm like, I could just picture Jesus sitting next to God. And he's like,
did you see that?
She's doing it again. And God's like, I saw her. And she's like, okay, I'm just going to go. And he puts his hand out. He's like, no, let her figure it out. Let's just wait and see what she does. I always think about that when it's something so silly. I'm just like, oh, I just did it again. I'm like, I know. So anyway, so I kind of feel like, he had already been telling me, hang in there, stick in there, blah, 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 whatever. And I was like, nope, I ain't listening. I put my hands over my ears, la, 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 la. Because he was trying to talk to me and tell me, just hold on. If I just hold on to tomorrow, but I wasn't trying to hold on. I felt fed up. I had enough. So I'm out. So that was my initial, yes, I'm flight.
And for me, it was interesting because I was fight up to a certain point. I was fight up until, I would ask time and time again, are you sure about this? Is this what you want? Are you positive? Because once I go, I'm gone. Once I bounce, I'm I'm done. I don't do redos. I don't come back. There is no.
It's
rebound.
The remix. We don't remix.
Yeah, I was not DJ Khaled on that. I wasn't come back around going, it's another one. It's another time.
Oh, yeah.
It's another chance. No, that wasn't happening.
Nope.
So
and I was like, bye.
But when everything hit, when you actually ended up getting laid off and we were faced with the prospect, I had the apartment that had the deposit down and I was going to move in and all that. But when everything turned, it was one of those things where it was like, okay, it's time to fight. I'm staying. We're sticking this out. We're going to figure it out one way or the other. We're going to go through counseling. But I think in that moment, you have to decide what it is you truly want. And I think it does come down to the circumstances. Again, I did talk about how, even though you said it was a little bit more ambiguous, but when I was saying that as long as there's not abuse that's involved, you have to make a decision as to whether or not, at least like what we did was, or at least what I did, was make a decision about, is this something that I really want to sit here and fight for? And my relationship with one of those things that I truly wanted to have long term, whatever the cost.
Well, I mean, at some point you have to decide, is it worth it? And you deemed that it was worth it. We both did, actually. We both said, okay.
How do you know it's worth it?
How do I know it's worth it?
How does a person know that it's worth it?
So for me, I'm going to be being completely transparent and being completely honest. I am not playing when I said I felt like the Lord was telling me, don't do this. Do not do this. Because it was innately in me, but I was being stubborn. I was like, I'm tired. I'm tired. And he kept saying, no, this is not the way. This is not the way, and because everything in me was feeling like that. But I'm kind of stubborn and I was hurt. And so I was like, I'm good.
So, okay, so this is going to go, I'm going to take you probably by surprise on this, but.
Me?
Yeah, because I didn't mention this beforehand that I was going to go here. But You're talking about the voice, right? That the Lord was talking to you. Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm doing a devotional in the Bible app, and it's called...
I was going to say, he's talking to you right now, telling you, no, it's over.
No, but I'm doing this... So I use the Bible app, and I go through these different devotionals, and some of them are like 3 days, some are 4 days, some are 7 days long. And, I got some brothers out there that have turned me on to this app, like... St. R. St. R was the first person I heard use this. CB uses it. Dietrich Williams uses it. There's a variety of guys that are into and some of the ladies too. Like I know Cara's into it. There's a variety of different people that are using this Bible app. Christina Sampasa. There's a lot of people. But I'm doing this one called Chatterbox. And it's talking about how the Lord places a calling on us, but yet we have this inner talk. We say things to ourselves. Mm-hmm. It's like the devil doesn't even have to get involved because we're doing damage to ourselves.
Right. I believe that.
But my question is like, okay, so you're saying, okay, the Lord was talking to you. How do you know what voice to listen to and what voice to not listen to? Because, how do you know it distinguish between the chatterbox that's giving you that input that you probably shouldn't listen to and you should dampen and quiet down versus the Lord, getting direction?
For me, definitely, I knew because I don't know. It was like my spirit man knew. If that makes any sense, I don't know. That might be.
Wait, were you saying your spirit man? Like you got a spirit man, or were you saying
spirit man?
My spirit man? Okay,
No, like my spirit, my inner spirit.
Because I was about to say, well, who's spirit man?
No, it's like this. My spirit knew.
Okay.
And then there were so many things that were I won't say were revealed to me, like certain scriptures would come to mind. Lean not to your own understanding. Just certain things that were contradicting what I was saying, what my flesh was calling for. So I was like, nope. And so it was making me angry because I knew deep down inside, I knew that this is a bad look for us. This is not a good look, Rana. But Snooks was being Snooks.
Passive aggressive.
I was being very aggressive about it. You know that. But not that I'm proud of it or anything like that. I don't want to come off like that. But when I've had enough, I've had enough. I'm like, okay, I'll put up with whatever. But it's like, you know what? I'm done. I've had enough. I can't.
Oh, because Snooks will cut you off in
No, I won't.
Oh, yes, she will. Yes,
anyway,
she will. She's like, look, you cross her. It'd be like, done.
No.
But wait a minute. That was like
I'm
just
not
30
a
seconds
one
ago.
and
I'm
done.
done.
I'm not a one and done.
You're a one and done.
But no, I'm not.
You're a one-hitter quitter. You were like, no. Oh, okay. What? Really? You crossed me once? I'm good. Wait, I even know your phrase. The girls could even say your same phrase. You'd be like, I'm cool on you. I'm so cool on you. They know it. So anyway, go ahead.
But no. So like I said, it was just something. And no, I won't say it was just something. I really feel like that was the Lord. He was like, okay, and certain things that were, scriptures were being planted in my head, and just the feelings that I was feeling, but I was in my flesh and I was in my anger and I was hurt. And so I was like, no, and then when people would, I'm going to say a lot of people, but the reaction that my grandmother had, oh my gosh, my grandmother, you would have thought it was back 1996 when you got stabbed, the way she was devastated, and so it was just like, I was like, I'm done. So when I felt like the Lord was like, okay, so since you want to be hard-headed, now you're about to lose your job, and I loved that job. I really, really loved that job. So when I got laid off, like, I called you and you were like, okay, well, I'm just not going to move. And it was almost like, I feel like that. Well, one thing you always say to the girls about the man on top of the house with the Lord sending people and sending signs. Okay,
so if you haven't heard the story, so it's one of those things where, so again, and you may have heard this in some variation, but here's the story. It's like, so look, we need to listen, right? The Lord gives us signs, but we're hard-headed. Mm-hmm. So here the story is, there's a flood that's actually about to take place. And before the flood is happening, there's a lot of warnings in place. And so they went through and they did a volunteer evacuation. And they went to the door, knocked on it. Gentleman opens the door and they said, hey, there's volunteer evacuation. We think that there's going to be a flood, just in case. And so the person says, okay, well, you know what? I'm good. The Lord's going to protect me. So then they leave. Then the dam breaks or the levee breaks, and then there's going to be, it's not even impending. There's a flood that's taking place. So they come back around, and the person's like, no, I'm good. The Lord's going to take care of me. So then the flood waters rise, and all of a sudden, so this is a 2-story house. So the first story is all completely flooded out. They come back around now on boats. So they're in this boat, and they're sitting there like, sir, you got to come with us now. And it's like, no, I'm good. The Lord's going to take care of me. And so they sit there, and the waters continue to rise. Now this guy's up on the roof. So now there's a helicopter that's overhead and a boat that's showing up with these people that are trying to help the guy. And they're like, we're here to save you. And he's like, no, don't waste your time with me. Go to the next house. I'm good because the Lord's going to take care of me. So the floodwaters continue to rise. They rise and they get higher. It gets to the point where the guy that's up to the guy's neck. And they're like, you have to leave with us now. And he's like, no, the Lord's going to take care of me. The guy dies. This guy dies. He gets to heaven and he's sitting at the pearly gates and he is fuming. He is so angry. And he's like, I just want to see God right now. I want to see him right now. I got words for God and I want to see him. So guy shows up. He's like, what's up? And the guy's like, I trusted in you. I believed in you and you were supposed to take care of me. And God was like, look,
I sent the warnings. I sent a boat. I sent another boat. I sent a helicopter and another boat. And you didn't. What else am I supposed to do?
Right. That part.
And so, but to the story, I mean, that's what I kind of felt like, I was like, well, the Lord's gonna take care of me. I'm on the roof.
But it was there. So I stayed and we worked it through, but we were committed to it. And for me, how did I know that I was supposed to work it through? It's just because it was my conviction. When I took my vows, I took them very serious. And the challenge with me was that I took my vow and I was dedicated to my wife, my bride, but I was also clinging on to my old responsibilities. And that was the part that got us into trouble. But we moved beyond that because I was committed to my vows. I was committed to my wife. I was committed to the covenant that we had actually taken together, that we had undertaken to move forward. And that was enough for us to move. And I'm not saying that it's not for you guys. For all the people that are listening right now, there's going to come a point in your relationship when you're going to have to decide. And again, barring abuse, barring anything physical, emotional, spiritual, verbal type of abuse, anything outside of that, you have to make a decision as to whether or not, why am I doing this? Why am I in this? And if the person was good enough for you to actually decide that you wanted to spend the rest of your life with, you have to make a decision as to whether or not it's worth fighting for. It comes down to fight or flight. Do you want to stand your ground and fight for what you signed on, so to speak, in the covenant? Or are you just going to run? And I'm just going to be very honest with you. More times than not, if you run, it's not going to be the last time. It may not be the first time you ran, but it definitely won't be the last time you run.
Okay, but kind of back to what the question was, though. It's like, yeah, so how do we do it? But we chose each other. We decided,
Prayer.
we fought. So in that fighting, what did that fighting include? And like you just said, prayer.
Counseling.
For one, yeah, counseling. Because,
Counseling was huge.
Even though Lovey and I had still loved we're still in love with each other, we were both angry, we were both hurt, and I was like, okay, I'm backing off or what have you, and so he's doing his back off too. So we were like in a room, but one was on one side, the other was on the other side, and so we had to learn how to bridge the gap together. It wasn't just one person throwing out an olive branch. I had to do the same thing. We were both, we had to both work our way back to each other. And for me, myself, personally, it started with prayer first. And I didn't just pray and I got up and I was like, okay, I'm fine. No, I was crying like, okay, Lord, I know you said you never leave me, you wouldn't forsake me, but I'm not happy and I can't be in the relationship where I feel this way. And I just can't see, being married and because this is not the marriage that I wanted. I want what you promised and what I envisioned on that day in 1995, Christmas Eve, when I was like, this is going to be my husband. When I was ready to go get my dress that evening, we could have run off to the courthouse if it was open and we would have, that's what I was wanting, but I wasn't feeling that. So I cried a lot of days. But the one thing that I did not do, once we said, okay, we're going to work it out and we're going to stick to it, I did that. I would be on my way to work and I'd be crying. I know people probably thought something was wrong with me. I'm escaping an abusive relationship or something. And I'd get to work kind of early, and I'd sit in my car and I'd cry, and I had to like kind of keep a little bit of makeup with me just so that I didn't look all puffy. But I cried and I cried and I cried. And it wasn't until I felt all cried out was I able to, I would say, build back up again, I guess. It's like I felt like the Lord was like, okay, we getting all this out. We stripping it all away. And then, okay, we're going to start laying the foundation back. And so that's when, prayer started. I wasn't feeling so anxious or so angry or so resentful. One day I didn't feel, I don't have that emotion. And then the next time, I realized that, we were smiling. We talked. We stuck to it. But we went to counseling, and we had assignments that we had to do in counseling. We had to learn how to get back to each other. We had to learn
reconnect.
how to, that's the word I'm looking for. We had to learn how to reconnect and really focus on us. And outside of that house, no one else mattered. Oh, I'm sorry. It's like no one else mattered. And it had to be like that. As hurtful as that may have been to other people, especially.
But see, here's my thing. Here's my theory on that.
Okay.
Outside of our house, you say it may have been hurtful to other people. Look, folks, when you came into this world, you were butt naked and by yourself. Straight up.
Yep.
Butt naked by yourself. And until you either A, take a vow to stand beside somebody else for the rest of your life, or B, bring other people into this world, your only responsibility is for you yourself. So you're butt naked by yourself, responsible for yourself. You take a vow, it's you and him or you and her. And then once you bring children into the world, it's that group right there. And that's what you're responsible for, nothing else. Everyone wants to say, look, okay, I'm going to catch a lot of heat over this. Everyone say family over everything. And I believe in family. I am so down with family. But, and that's a huge but.
Well, no, it's still family
It's
over
still
everything.
family, but it's family over everything, but it's your family, the nucleus that you just created over everything else. Not your cousins from back in the day. As much as I love my cousins from back in the day, okay, now you guys take a backseat to my new family. My siblings take a backseat to my family that I just created. My parents take a backseat. My grandparents take a backseat. Now there's love, there's respect, there's all of that. But once you actually step up and you start creating your own family, that's family over everything, not everybody else.
That's right.
So that's a big part of how we overcame the hurdle, is me recognizing that, because when I said family over everything in the past, I was all about all family. I'm trying to please everybody.
And is that saying you spread yourself too thin, and it was kind of like that. You were trying to please, go here, go there, and please everyone, and at in the end, no one was being pleased. You know what I'm saying?
For real.
So it's like you just said, though, it is family over everything, but our family, our last name, all in this one house, we come first, and we have to do what we decide is best, what we decide together that we're going to do, and how we're going to handle, the adversity of whatever. So but it's so funny, even though that was a dark time, I guess, for us, when you go through the tunnel and you get to the other side. Okay, so just have this vision of when, like, the Caldecott Tunnel in Oakland, coming from, or I think it's Orinda, whatever, going over to the Bay Area into San Francisco. So the Caldecott Tunnel, when you go through, is dark, 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 dark. And as soon as you get out of the tunnel and you hit that curve and that view, woo, it's beautiful, because it's like, I made it through. And that's kind of how, when we finally made it through, it was like hitting that view, and you just see all that wide open, the bridge in the background, the water, the hills to the left. It was just beautiful. And we've been there since then. Not that, we don't have our moments, but nothing ever takes us out of that, because we learned, or take us away from that place, because we learned, okay, these are the things that we cannot do. These are the things that trigger this. Okay, we can't have this person in our inner circle. Well, not so much in our inner circle, but we set our boundaries. That's what I'm trying to say, basically. We set our boundaries, and we didn't waver with the boundaries. Before we called ourselves setting boundaries, and my oldest brother, he would break through the boundary, and we would put the fence back up, prop it up a little bit, and then, his mother would break through the boundary, then we prop that one up too. So, but when we went through that tunnel, our boundary was set, man. It was like, that was the wall. So now we had the wall that nothing gets past that wall. People try to bounce off of it. They try to throw whatever. Nothing gets past that wall, because that's where we are. We've set that foundation, and we let everybody know too. Oh, no. No one ever comes past this again. We learned our lesson. And so now this is where we are. We got some flack for it,
That's true. We did. I mean, I know some of your relatives had some few choice words for me, and about how, I wasn't a man because, I was, you shouldn't let your wife, participate in this conversation, whatever. I mean, we're talking some Neanderthal.
Did you see how his voice got all deep?
But no, there was some stuff, but it was like, y'all tripping.
You're right.
We have a united front. And I think it really comes down to, look, relationships are forged in fire. The greatest metals on earth, when it comes to, if you look at swordsmanship, you look at certain katanas, these swords, these samurai swords, these ninja swords, whatever you want to call them, but these swords that are just forged into, that are so strong they break other swords, it's because of the fire, the number of times that it's been forged in the fire. And your relationship sometimes is going to be that sword. It's going to be your weapon. That is your true weapon against the enemy. It's the true weapon against the world, against those things that are out there. You have to stand in the fire with your spouse, with your partner, to ensure that you can stand up to all of the adversities that are out there. One of the things is, we always say our tagline on our website is love, laughter, and a dose of reality. But realistically, it's really going to be more about love, laughter, and overcoming adversity. Mm-hmm. That's truly the essence of what it is. I mean, the short answer for the question, love, laughter, and overcoming adversity.
Right.
Is really what it takes to continue to move forward, at least in our lives. That's what we've done. So we probably could have summed that up all in 30 seconds instead of going 30 minutes.
Oh, that would have been the podcast.
That would have been the whole podcast.
No, but I mean, sometimes people, when they ask, okay, so how did you come up with that answer? And, there are times when you just need to break something down that's very simple. Even when you explain 1 + 1, 1 + 1 is 2. Okay, we know that. So how did you? Well, I took this one, and then I put this one, and I put them together, and then that gave me 2. You know what I'm saying? Elementary steps at times when.
Well, there's that, and then we haven't talked about this in a while, but you also have to make sure you're surrounding yourself with the right people. Mm-hmm. We haven't talked about having an iron tribe in a while, and iron tribe is a huge part of what helped us get through it. If you're going through something, look around you. Who's your support? What are the mechanisms you're able to fall back on? I mean, do you have an iron tribe that you can, and I'm not talking about your girl from back in the day that's always been there, or that cousin that's always been there. And don't get me wrong, family's strong, family is great, but is there another couple, a couple with a solid relationship that have been through some things and survived and have found, be straight up, that have God in their lives and have actually leaned on God when they needed things most? Is there somebody that you can actually look to that, and it might be that one person that's on the fringe, but you know that they have a strong relationship. Can you reach out to them? You need to surround yourself with individuals that have the relationship for which you're striving for.
Do you remember who we kind of started hanging out with a little bit?
Niecy, Uncle Johnny?
Yep. I remember when, I don't know who told her or how it came up some kind of way, but she was like, oh, we're not letting that happen. And I just kind of laughed a little bit. And she was like, you come over to our house. And we went over there. So we were like almost hanging out with them. We started hanging out with them quite a bit, Then of course Uncle Johnny got sick and what have you. But that was kind of how we first started hanging out with them. They never really sat down and talked with us about, well, what's going on and what's this, what's that. But it was just the environment of being over there.
They were the beginning of our Iron Tribe.
Yeah, they really were. I really remember that. She was like, oh no, we're not having this.
And you need to actually find your Iron Tribe and start to build it. I guarantee that you have somebody in your life right now that is there, that is strong, that's united, that are willing to that have been through the adversities that you're either facing or very similar ones that you can lean on. You need to find those individuals and latch on to them. I'm not saying you got to tell them all your business, but I am saying that you need to be around like-minded people. You can't be hanging around a bunch of single folk, and God bless them. I got single friends too, that I love dearly, but you can't hang around single people and tell them your married issues and expect for them to be able to come back with sound advice. They don't know. They're not in a relationship like you're in a relationship. Do they have a relationship? Absolutely. And they might be in a long-standing boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, but they're not married. There is a difference. There's a huge difference in that.
And the other part of that too is, what if you may not be the couple that needs the Iron Tribe or is having the difficulty as a couple, you might be the one to see another couple that is going through something. Reach out to them. Maybe extend yourself. Just have a cup of coffee with them, or I don't know.
And chat.
Yeah, just have a conversation, because everyone needs someone. And especially someone that's positive, someone that, like you said, Lovey said, we're in a relationship. And sometimes it's really hard to find couples that they're in a relationship and they actually really like each other. It's like, oh, I can hang out with
Believe it or not.
another married couple. But if that married couple, all they're going to do is bash each other all night, or talk about how this person makes her sick, or he get on her nerves, or she did this and she did that. And it's like, oh, okay. So, and we say that because we've done that. We've extended ourselves. There have been times when, we have extended ourselves, and it's like, oh, okay. So when we try to, let's be positive, let's be whatever. Sometimes it could work out the negative, but don't stop, because we all have, I feel like we all have it in us to be the light for another couple too.
Oh, absolutely. You can be the window through which everyone else sees the love of the Lord.
Thank you.
And always remember that you are the window through which people can see the love of the Lord. And I'm going to challenge you right now to do that. And once again, I'd be remiss if I didn't state that when it comes to an Iron Tribe, we're building an Iron Tribe community on Facebook. It's going to be a private Facebook community that is going to be accessible through the individuals that we do our couple-to-couple coaching with. There's certain levels to it, but those individuals that do want to sit down with a couple and have that couple-to-couple Iron Tribe type environment, we are opening up to them. And I've already got some choice couples that the two couples that we've talked to that have been on our podcast that are very strong couples that are part of our Iron Tribe are also going to be moderators and participating in the Iron Tribe Facebook community as well. Again, it's a private community, but it's one of those things where we can go as couples and chime in and talk to each other and air some stuff out and talk and learn and get some ideas about how to create longevity within our relationships. So I'm not going to go into greater detail about that right now, but I hope you got a lot out of this conversation today, because right now it's 2 for the road. Yay! Uh-oh, I dropped mine. Sorry, I spilled the can. There we go. All right, I got mine. Get yours. All right, so who went first? You went first last time.
Did I? Okay.
So, mine, I don't know who went first. So mine says, I can hold my partner's hand in public, which is easy because I do it all the time.
You already do.
I do it all the time. I open up the door for her, her car door. Mm-hmm. And I'm not just saying regular doors. I get out of my car, fellas. I walk around, fellas, and I open up the door, fellas, for my bride so she can get out the car. Oh, and I close the door.
Do you close it? No.
And I close it. But no, and we walk hand in hand just about everywhere we go. We
always hold hands. Yes, we hold hands a lot. Okay, so mine says, I could pick up after myself.
Not after me.
I can pick up after everyone. No.
Yeah, well,
Yes,
she's been
I
picking
can
up
pick
after
up
me for
after
20
myself.
plus years. So
Yeah, I have.
unfortunately.
It's all right.
So that is it. So hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. We want to thank everyone for listening yet again. And of course, the big ask is always that you share Married into Crazy with your friends, your family. Heck, the people you don't like, share it with them. You might start to like them after they listen to us for a little while. I don't know.
Funny.
But go ahead and share it far and wide. Let people know. And I keep saying I'd be remiss.
Yeah,
But
please.
don't forget about the
Don't be
podcast savings that we have in place. That's for our coaching. So we have the initial coaching, the couple to couple coaching with assessment is on sale. There's a special discount just for our podcast listeners. And there's podcast 2. So that's the word podcast and the number 2 all together. And you will get a deep, deep discount for the assessment, where we spend 45 minutes together talking about 15 minutes, just kind of getting to learn each other and talk about a few things. But then going into the disc assessment itself, you'll each get a disc assessment that you will go through, and I will be able to walk you through that and help you discover your superpowers, because I was certified as an extreme execution coach by Dr. Eric Thomas, better known as E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher. And then there's also podcast 1, because we know that we do have some individuals out there that are in a relationship or looking for their next relationship, and they want to do it the right way. They want to do it in a way in which it becomes something greater and a little bit more meaningful for them. And for those individuals, it's podcast 1, the number 1. So with that said, until the next time, be blessed.
Bye-bye.